All right, guys, happy Saturday, week 10 of the college football season. If you can believe it, it is November. Welcome into the Auburn pregame show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. He's Matt Scalisi. I'm Simone Eli. Auburn currently ranked 12th after the first college football playoff poll, taking on 13th ranked Texas A&M, in a huge opportunity really for both teams, but especially for the Tigers right now, playing really, really good football, Matt. They cannot overstate how significant this game is for this Auburn team. Kickoff at 2:30 on CBS, but at Kyle Field in College Station, not an easy place to play.
No, and like you said, huge game for Auburn, huge game for Texas A&M. I would say for both programs, this is one of the biggest games that either of them has been involved in a number of years in terms of what's on the line. I would say for Auburn, you could probably go back to 2017 for the last time Auburn played in a game that was this high stakes, that had this much on the line for the program. And I think it's a sign that Brian Harsin has exceeded expectations and really gotten this program into a good place in a hurry to even have Auburn in the position where they are playing for a shot to stay alive in the SEC West in November. I don't think that's a situation that a lot of folks predicted Auburn would be in this season. I think everybody thought that they were further away from this than they have ended up being. But, look, again, looking at the other side of it, important to remember, too, how much is on the line for Texas A&M. They want this game really badly. They had a really rough start to the season, and now here they are. They're looking at a scenario where if they can beat Auburn today, they're one more Alabama slip-up away from winning the SEC West, which is something that Texas A&M has never done since they've joined the SEC. So this is truly about as high stakes as you can get in the SEC West, outside of literally clinching the division with a game.
Yes, there's no question that when it comes to games left on Auburn's schedule, I mean, this is right up there with the Iron Bowl when it comes to significance. To make the Iron Bowl a significant game, Auburn has to get it done today. A loss today would obviously change what that looks like down the road should Alabama continue to win. But we're talking the Tigers right now. They are ranked 12th, whereas the Aggies are 13th. But should Auburn win today, it would be considered an upset. Texas A&M actually the favorite by 4.5 points at home. Not a huge surprise there, as Kyle Field is a very difficult place to play, over 100,000 strong, that we will see today in College Station. And Bo Nix knows that. Bo Nix knows what it's going to take, how loud it's going to be to play on the road in the SEC, but specifically in this environment is not easy to do against the Aggies, the 12th man they call themselves. But what Bo Nix has been able to string together the last 2 weeks, Matt, has been impressive. Brian Harsin has credited not only Nix and his preparation, but also what the guys around him have been able to do and put together. I have been thoroughly blown away, I think, the last 2 weeks against Arkansas and against Ole Miss, the bye week in there as well, in what this team has been able to do offensively when it comes to fast starts.
For sure. And I think, going kind of up and down the line with it, you look at what this team wasn't doing well earlier in the season. What were their weak points? I think you look at protecting Bo Nix from the offensive line. That, I think, has very obviously changed a lot, and this offensive line is playing together a lot better. The wide receivers, we know that wasn't going well. They even made a change in the coaching staff at that position.
Yeah,
they're getting a lot more consistent. We're seeing some names that are becoming more reliable playmakers in this Auburn offense. I think this wasn't necessarily a weak point for them, but the tight ends and what my friend Cole Kublik often calls the bonus bigs, those fullbacks and tight ends, they've suddenly become a whole new dimension to this offense. So the offense has really evolved and become more dangerous and multifaceted. On the defensive side, I think we saw that they were sort of susceptible to big plays. They weren't always all on the same page with each other. I think now, as they've gotten a little more consistency and this group has played together a little more, they seem like they're all a little bit more on the same page. They are certainly making big game-changing plays. I think that's a thing this defense has been known for under Kevin Seal, and they are continuing to do that under Derek Mason this year.
Yeah, and Brian Harsin said that this offense is starting to understand what this should look like. And again, I mean, it's only halfway through the season, like we said, to be in the position that they are. I mean, credit to Brian Harsin and credit to these players to buy in, kind of deal with those rough situations early on against Penn State, moments against Georgia as well. But Auburn really stringing together some things. And you know who knows that is Jimbo Fisher. The Texas A&M coach spoke this week about the job that Harsin and his staff has been able to do on the Plains so far this season. Let's listen in.
They're doing a great job in how they're calling the game. Mike Bobo does a great job. Harsin, the head coach, is an offensive guy. Brian's doing a great job with that team. I think he's making great decisions with the ball. He's picking his moments when he runs. He knows where he's going, what he's doing with, and they're getting great play action because of the run game, which is creating matchups down the field for them. The tight ends are getting involved. They're catching the ball. Their tight ends are catching the football. And Bo's a great competitor, man. He can beat you with his legs, his arm. He's competitive as heck. He's tough as heck. And he's making really good decisions and being smart with football.
That was just letting everybody know that was played back at normal speed. That's just how Jimbo talks. That was not fast forward.
I don't know if you heard that one part about he's talking about tight ends. I literally listened to it 4 times. He literally said, tight ends are catching the football. They're catching the football. The tight ends. I'm like, what did he just say? Like, he should literally be an auctioneer. I mean, that's just like that's totally just a Jimbo Fisher type of way. But we're breaking down this offense, Matt. Would it surprise you to hear that Auburn is averaging more than 450 total offensive yards a game? For some reason, I saw that stat. It blew me away. Nearly 35 points a game. Nothing against Gus Malzahn and what Gus has done and what he did at Auburn. He did a lot of good things. And, you know, it's not like he was out there embarrassing the program week in and week out. But it seems as though something is really clicking. And I think that fans are enjoying seeing that.
I think so. I mean, I think it's interesting that you bring up that average yardage, which I still think should be resulting in a higher points per game than it is so far. I think this Auburn offense has gotten a lot better. I still think if we're talking about areas where Auburn could improve and where you want to see them continue to get better, it's finishing drives. They're still, I think, kicking a few too many field goals for drives that should be ending in touchdowns.
Yeah.
But overall, they're moving the ball really well. They have a lot of different answers. They're not allowing defenses to bottle them up and restrict them to, running the same types of things over and over again. I think it would have been really tempting, and they did do it a little early in the season, to just pound those 2 great running backs over and over and over again. They've instead branched out and made this offense more interesting and more dynamic. And I think that's part of why you're seeing that average yardage go up per game. The key will be going forward, if they're going to finish this season strong and if they're going to beat Texas A&M and Mississippi State and Alabama and have a shot to win the SEC West here, they need to, I think, be more consistent about finishing those drives and not stalling out when they get to the red zone.
Yeah. One big part of Texas A&M's biggest win of the year, which of course was at home against Alabama, a lot of folks watched that game, was sophomore quarterback Zach Calzada, who prior to that, no one really knew who the heck he was. I mean, I remember going into that game, we were doing the Alabama pregame show. It's like, okay, who's Zach Calzada? Like, all right, it's just this name, like whatever. This guy put up some huge numbers. Since then, really maybe not with the same type of swagger, I guess. But if you look at his numbers from this season, over 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. He has had 7 picks. But this is a guy who can be dangerous at times, and he's a gritty quarterback. Lots of folks actually compare his style of play a little bit to that of Bo Nix when it comes to just being like a football type of player. It's a tough guy that you want to have on your side.
Yeah, and you have to be gritty to survive a game against the way this Auburn defense is playing right now too. So it will be very interesting to see how he holds up in this game. Yeah. You're going to. I think Auburn has shown at this point they're not going to get into a lot of shootouts this season. They're not going to find themselves in a situation like maybe going back to that 2019 Iron Bowl where it's just back and forth touchdowns all day. Yeah. This is a team that you're going to have to grind it out against. You're not going to score on every possession. You have to be smart with the football. You have to not give Auburn easy field position if you're going to have a chance to beat them.
Yeah.
And, look, I think even you go back to the last time Auburn lost against Georgia, it ended up being a pretty big margin. But for most of that game, it was a tough game for Georgia. They had to be smart. They had to protect the football. They had to grind it out and slowly wear down Auburn. And it was not easy to do. Auburn made them earn it.
Sure.
I think for Texas A&M, they're a team that so far this season looks built to do a little bit more of the shootout type of scenario. Mm-hmm. So part of me thinks this game does not favor them because of that this is going to be a much tougher scenario for them than Alabama was, because Alabama's all about beating you with the big play and maybe giving you a few of those big plays along the way too, but they can outscore you most of the time. That's not going to be the situation with Auburn today. I think that Auburn will definitely have struggles of their own against this Texas A&M front seven. They're a very aggressive, dangerous defense up front. And we know that's been occasionally an issue. Auburn has had issues getting the run game going at times this season. I think they've also, even though the offensive line's playing better, protecting Bo Nix can be a bit of an issue. And we know that Bo is as much better as he's playing this season. When he makes mistakes tends to be when he's on the run, when he's under pressure. So, I think there are going to be times today where Texas A&M is able to disrupt what Auburn's offense is doing. They have to stick with the plan. They have to be consistent and commit to what they're trying to do today. This is not – I really would be surprised if this looks like that Bama-Texas A&M game. I think this will look much more like a lower scoring, tough physical affair today.
I completely agree. And when it comes to
and watch it be 49 to 50.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be completely wrong. I agree with you, Matt, but who knows? Who knows what we will see when it comes to these two offenses that are scoring a lot of points. But again, I totally agree with you. I think it will be maybe a lower scoring affair. Maybe just 3 or 4 touchdowns scored instead of like 5, 6, 7. And one thing when it comes to Bo Nix and making mistakes is I think that when he does get under pressure, when he is on the run, Matt, is that not to compound those errors, if you make a mistake is to come back and to keep his head. And I feel as though, Brian Harsin talked about this as well, is that he has really matured in a way. He's really prepared in a way where when he does make mistakes, he's not compounding those issues and causing even more problems for Auburn. So I think that has been certainly impressive for the Tigers junior quarterback. If you just tuned in, this is the Auburn pregame show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. He's Matt Scalisi. I'm Simone Eli. Appreciate all of your comments. Some really great comments. Amber Gilbert always coming in here. She should host this show, honestly. Sometimes I'm like, knows more about this game, more about this team, and more about these games than I do. I'm always impressed with what she has to say. A lot of score predictions as well. We appreciate that. Cannot overstate how significant this month is, Matt. And we talked about it a little bit early in the show, but it's be a team that is remembered in November. It's kind of a statement that everyone says. Nick Saban said it this week. Jimbo said it. Harsin said it. This month is just so significant when it comes to what postseason play is going to look like, what opportunities teams bring on for themselves. Consistency is key right now down the stretch. Everyone's trying to play at a high level because this is it. I mean, every game matters more than it ever has. I feel as though Auburn understands and has the right type of sense of urgency when it comes to needing to execute at a high level week in and week out right now to put themselves in a position where they want to be a month and a half from now.
Yeah, you do have to peak at the right time. I think that's an underrated aspect of winning in the SEC is you can be the best team in America on Labor Day weekend. And it doesn't matter if you get worn down over the course of the season, you get some guys hurt, you lose your morale that was working for you. You have to be peaking at the right moment. And I think right now it does look like Auburn's on a very good trajectory for that. Mm-hmm. They need to stay, in addition to winning games, they also have the pressure of needing to stay healthy. And that means being smart. That means, protecting your guys. It means probably doing a little bit of rotation with some of your guys, especially on defense. But those are all kind of secondary concerns that Brian Harsin and his staff will have to be thinking about and worrying about as they go. I think these players are going to be going all out. I think they can feel and sense how much is on the line and what they have an opportunity to do. And it's an opportunity that you do not want to let get away from you, because especially in the SEC West, you never know when you're going to get that shot again. You never know when you're going to find yourself in November with a chance to control your own destiny. So I think you're going to see a ton of guys kind of going a little bit above and beyond today on both sides of the ball, on both teams. But I think it is important, again, to be aware that even though you have to win today, there's a season beyond this that matters too. And you have to protect your own players. You have to protect yourself.
Yep.
And you have to make sure that you're around for the run, because they've got a chance to accomplish a lot, but they've got to be there after today to do it too.
Yes. Let it be known, Matt, and it is a crazy thing to say this right now, and not a lot of teams, probably outside the top 8 right now, can say this. Auburn could be in the college football playoff as a 2-loss Auburn. Everything is still very much ahead for the Tigers. You win out. You win the SEC West. You go to the SEC title game and beat Georgia in the rematch. Auburn will be a top 4 college football playoff team. That is, to think that that's not in the back of these players and coaches' minds is wrong. Yes, they're taking it game by game, but the opportunity is there.
I don't see how. I know that there's never been a 2-loss team, but if you beat Georgia, beat the number 1 team, I don't see how they can possibly keep you out. If you beat the number 1 team, by the way, a week after you just beat the number 2 team, I think that you've got to be in that discussion. Now, again, Scott Odom rightly pointing out here, let's not get excited. But look, it's not about is it likely to happen, or what the odds are of that happening. It's the issue that it's even possible, right? Yeah. That it's even on the table as an opportunity. And I think it's important to remember that. I know that football is a lot about strategy and talent and all these things. I do really believe that motivation is a factor, and it changes how these guys play. I think the fact that there's more at stake is going to make these players play better and play at a higher level. I mean, we've seen, how many times have we seen, Simone, the week after a big loss, where suddenly guys don't have as much to play for anymore, the play level just falls off a cliff.
Sure.
That tells you how much motivation is worth. So I do think that while everything is still out there and on the table for Auburn, you're going to continue to see these guys play their hearts out. And it's got to start today. I think this is as important a 3-game stretch as we've seen for Auburn football in a very long time. It's going to be fun to watch, and this is going to be a very exciting month to be following this program.
It certainly is. Before we let you go, let's take a look around the SEC really quick and what else we're looking at. Right now, Georgia and Missouri, this score just updated. Georgia just scored late in the first quarter. Right now, the Bulldogs lead at 7-3. Not exactly the type of score I thought we'd be seeing late in the first quarter.
Missouri is very bad, too, by the way. That's pretty shocking.
Yes, it is. I mean, sometimes, though, guys don't play to the level that they should when they know that their opponent is not very good. Ole Miss Liberty, that one is entertaining just due to the storylines associated with that, of course. The game going on right now, Ole Miss leads at 10-0. Auburn, Texas A&M kicks off at 2:30. Mississippi State and Arkansas tonight. Bama hosts LSU, Kentucky and Tennessee, Florida and South Carolina. So a whole slate of games. A couple already kicked off, but the next one, of course, all the folks on here are looking forward to seeing 2:30 CBS, Auburn at Texas A&M. A huge opportunity, but not an easy one, Matt, for either one of these teams.
Nope, huge game. It's going to be brutal. I think it's going to be November football in the SEC. This is the epitome of what you want to see in this sport. And I'm glad we get it in the best possible time slot. I'm glad we're getting to see both of these teams pretty healthy too coming into it. Yep. And this is what you watch college football for. It's so much on the line. Two teams that they're not perfect, but they're both getting better and playing their way back into the picture again. So this is really, this is just exciting. If you're a nerd about the sport like me, this is the kind of thing you get really pumped about.
Yes, no question. But huge opportunity for both teams. Kickoff set for 2:30. Guys, thanks so much for tuning into the Auburn pregame show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. For Matt Scalisi, I'm Simone Eli. We will see y'all tonight. Enjoy this one and enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Medical Properties Trust, at the very heart of healthcare.